Oh, good morning, everyone. Uh, Originally, I planned in sort of real life, but for some reasons, saying my and Jesus does not exist, so I'm gonna be playing for telephone instead. And I realized it didn't. And last time, and it started all of my expectations isn't able to just giving right to the door, I feel a bit. So I think I'll end of it into just kind of a basic full player never went through notes. It's so easy. People are, not to, just not super familiar with the game into it. Uh, I personally go with the, choice of three random heroes. Because that's how I learned to play the game. Name on an actual, like, a physical copy of it. So, I think this one, I'm gonna go with the troll because you can get regeneration. Because each hero has a special thing, and the troll special thing is that things he's good at navigating the crags, which is good because as you can get lost in there, you're ended up losing your turn. And whenever you roll sit takes on your move, there you can just heal one life instead of moving. Well, yeah, I managed to get pretty much every class of the game because the assassin, when attacking, can just keep your opponent from getting to roll a die, which just basically cripples their chance to defend themselves. Because, you're an assassin, you sneakily kill things. The object of the game is reach the crown of command in the center of the board, and then by casting command spells, basically murder everybody else, because command spell deals 1 damage to every player not on the crown of command. But in order to do that, you have to get a talisman, and you have to get one of the titular talismans, and then get all the way to the inner region, and pass through various sort of trials, one space at a time. Characters appear. Here, you got strength, craft, and life. As well as fate and gold, which are resources that you can spend. And for various things, like fate can roll a die, and gold is used to naturally buy things. Which the character I picked, the troll, is as expected, especially strong, but kinda dumb. So he's good at fighting him with his strength, but not at all with his craft. And in addition to being able to regenerate, he also starts out with is easily the highest life total in the game. Even as far as adventures go. He's also neutral. Whereas the assassin is, and as evil as assassins tend to be, the dwarf is also neutral, and the wizard is evil for some reason. Because apparently arcane magic is bad. All the cards people possess, although unless they've got a class that lets them start with some stuff, like the wizard starts out with some spells, which perfect timing for it to be giving me the tutorial on spells, even though at the beginning trolls are too dumb to know any spells. Plus you have to have an ability to learn them, or learn them through like an event card. So, your craft isn't high enough for you to gain spells because trolls are dumb. You can only ever know up to 3 spells at once. And they're expended as soon as you cast them, so it's just over one and done type of deal. But spells are also, in my experience, one of the strongest things in the game, so honestly, it kind of balances some to not be able to cast them over and over again. But the wizard starts out with at least like 1 spell, because that's kind of the point of being a wizard, is you do magic. So each turn, as you do in many board game, you roll a 6-sided die to move. I rolled up to attempt to cross the bridge to the middle region, and was guarded by the sentinel. So it'll attack me if I try to move there. Troll starts out with pretty much the highest strength score of any character you could pick. Gotta make those stats high. Gotta make those other 2 stats high to balance out that one craft. But I don't think even the troll has like an easy time beating the sentinel from just right out of the gate. Because it's strength of 9. You would have to roll a 3 or lower, so there's a 50-50 chance of it being outright impossible. Well, for you to beat it with any die roll. But actually, it would be more like 33-66 chance, with the 66 being the likelihood of it rolling, a 3 or higher, because if it rolls at least a 3, if it rolls exactly a 3, the best you can hope for is to roll a 6 and it can get standoff. Of course, you don't always have to fight the sentinel. Sometimes you can teleport or build a raft, or ride a ferry. Things simple and just into the hills. As with most board games, every space on the board tells you what happens if you move there. And spaces like the hills where the core mechanic of the game really comes into it. For throwing cards. One from the adventure deck, which over time sort of builds up a lot of the sort of scenery and events of the game. The very first thing you get is a unicorn, which is a follower, so it's sort of an ally that will accompany us in our travels. And it adds, the unicorn has one strength and one craft to your character. So, boost my already high strength even higher, and effectively doubles our craft. There are some followers that must be taken. You know, you can choose not to take any follower, but most followers, like pretty much the only followers that you don't have a choice in not take. They are bad for you to get. You weren't forced to, otherwise you may hate them. Thanks to the AI players, including a widget who basically he has a spell of some kind, and on whoever approaches her, or one of the possible effects being turned into a toad for 3 turns, which takes you down to, which makes you drop all of your stuff, and reduces your strength and craft down to 1. So it makes it where you have to move one space at a time. So effectively useless. Is for the duration. The sorcerer is another stranger, which strangers are sort of NPCs that don't follow you, basically. Well, it's not useful all does because the smarter things to help with the uniform. But still not smart enough to actually learn these spells. You can buy spells from the sorcerer, or if you're smart enough. So, down to the fields, which is basically just like the hills. Just draw an adventure card. You get a place, an additional location on the board, or in addition to what's currently on it. And when encountering the space you pass through this magic portal to roll one die and be teleported to either the crags, the village, the city, the Warlock's Cave, the temple, or the Plane of Peril. Basically, you got a 50-50 chance of being able to bypass the Sentinel directly because the Warlock's Cave, the Warlock's Cave and the temple are both in the middle region, and the Plane of Peril is the very beginning. Plane of Peril is the very beginning of the inner region right here. Let's just go ahead and step through this portal and go right to the temple. So now we're already in the inner region. However, we do have to roll on the temple's table, which is one of the most expensive ones in just the base game. Got a fairly mediocre result of a 9, which would give us a spell if you weren't dumb. But I mean, at least we're not, enslaved. The resulting is having to wait until we roll a 5. So the Talisman equivalent to kind of Monopoly's jail space. Looks like the wolf is going to be joining us at the temple, all through the magic portal. And if not for spending some fate, he would have had to make a blood sacrifice to whatever god that were devoted to in this temple, losing the lesser half of his life. So now we've got a choice between two spaces to actually do something a bit different. They've got castle, which allows us to heal though we don't hurt at all. And if we had the prince or princess with us, as we'd be able to heal up to 2 life for free. Or we can just go into the desert, which allows us to draw 1 card. Or like any those spots we've stopped at before, that will also hurt us. We're a troll, we're tough, we can take the 1 damage. And that'll prompt the "You Lost Life" tutorial. Naturally, once you're out of life, you die. But I mean, we're only just now at the same level as a dwarf, as far as life goes. And we have built-in regeneration. And we're also gonna have to. It looks like we're fighting our first battle, but it's not just a battle, it's psychic combat. Which is craft based as opposed to strength based, so not really to our literal strength. But it's basically going to be a straight die roll because as a unicorn allows us to actually have a craft of 2. I'm going to and that was a waste. I've been using the initial rolls. start with. And there's a log available, which and I think that might be a fairly new tutorial because I don't remember. Because I remember when I first started playing this game, I sort of found the log just through sort of trial and error. Dwarf's fighting another spirit, but he's actually smart, so in fact his reroll over the temple made him smarter than he originally was, so he's actually got a decent chance. And you've got a third person stepping through the portal, and he's right in the inner region, but he's nowhere near prepared for it, so so if he sticks around there for very long, he's probably gonna die. So maybe I'll just go head on back to the temple and get a 7, which boosts our craft up to actually being able to learn a spell. At least as long as there are unicorns with us, because if we ever lose a unicorn, we'll also lose the 1 craft and 1 strength. The dwarf is now fighting a frigate. On occasions when there's pretty much no way you can lose or no way you can win, there is an auto win or auto lose option, which thanks to the effects of the runes, which boosts the attack rolls of any creature you fight hit on that space by 2. The dragon effectively had a 9 strength, so the 3 strength dwarf couldn't really do much. We could maybe take it on, because our strength matches the basic strength of the thing. But for now, we're going to go to the other rooms, because the other options are pay our 1 gold or lose 1 life, Eva Red, another Black Knight, trying to open the Portal of Power, which requires rather good strength, and just leads you into somewhere we're not really prepared for. Or fight something that's slightly stronger than normal. And we're not finding anything at all because we just found 1 gold there. Which effectively doubles our money because we only have 1 gold in the first place. So assassin will normally be able to assassinate, but this is psychic combat, so this is the one occasion when the assassin can't assassinate other than when a player engages them in PvP. The dwarf just walked onto a spot that it's 3 different things that you can to draw 3 different cards. Since we now have some money, we can actually... I mean, we had one goal to start with, but now buy a sword and a helmet. So now we get better strength in combat, and if we lose anyway, then we have a 1 in 6 chance of not taking damage. Which Dwarf also got a rather good item from that space. He's that makes it where you're basically, as long as he's got at least 3 craft, he has a spell. And when he casts that spell, he automatically draws a new one from the spell stack. So he's basically a wizard, because the wizard starts with 2 spells and always has at least 1 spell. You know what? We're smart, and we're smart enough to cast spells, and we're also strong. So let's try and take that wand from the dwarf. He's like, you've got more than twice his strength, so unless that 1 spell he knows turns the tide of the battle majorly in his favor, we have a decent chance of actually taking it. So to engage in PvP, you just simply select to encounter a character on a space that has another character on it, rather than encountering the space, which just results in drawing the cards or whatever the specific space tells you to do. So normally you can only battle with strength, although some heroes actually have the ability to specifically challenge another character to psychic combat. You know, strength puts us in our favor anyway. The dwarf got a result of less in our base strength than our just 1 strength. And so we get to win. So we win that fight to either take an object to 1 gold, which is kind of an object, or force him to lose 1 life. Although he's got a shield, so there's a 1 in 3 chance that if his life would be a waste anyway. So let's just take the win. And now we're told it can cast this a spell, which in this case is immobility, which can force a character to effectively lose their turn. Although, in order to really cast it, we'd have to basically do the spell like the turn before, or whoever we went to immobilize his goes. Because I believe it's yeah, it has to be that's on the target's turn. And the wizard actually could have cast it as a counter spell in response to or immobilize it if he hadn't just burned it on uncovering the assassin trying to heal himself. When we can use something, and we can double tap on it if it's glowing blue, in order to use it. And you have to cue a spell in order to cast. And as a general rule, you end up having to cue a spell and cast it because the AI will often just skip on past it. That's the opportunity to cast spells like Immobilize, which have to be cast specifically. Well, immobility, I mean as the actual name of the spell. You have to cast it at the start of the character's turn before they move. So unless you want to cast it on yourself, if you pretty much have to cast it you pretty much have to cue it because the AI tends to just sort of skip over that window and go right into rolling to move. So I think we should head over to the woods because it's kind of the least dangerous option. And that won't result in us just walking right over the middle region and having to find our way back in again. I don't think the wizard really has anything planned, so I'm just gonna turn the sticks. Which results in an event, and in this case, in which we are visited by a devil. We aren't evil, so we don't gain any life. We aren't good, so we don't lose any life. And there's no effect if you're neutral. So the devil just looks at it and is like, "Oh, you're boring. Proof gone." Goes back to hell. The assassin just went through a portal and ended up in the space that if we didn't up there, we wouldn't have to roll anything. Then got lost there, so he's gonna lose a turn. go draw from the hidden valley. They got the main which boosts his craft, which is kind of his main stat. The Talisman and 2 gold. So now I think the wizard has something worth taking, so let's just go beat this nerd up. This 2 strength having nerd. Which means he's got a sword. So... and he's got a potion. So like now he actually stands something resembling a chance against this sword wielding troll. But even though he's +6, which is the best as he could have possibly gotten, even his absolute best was not enough. Got a talisman, so now it's mostly just a matter of preparing ourselves for the dangers of the inner region. This dwarf has found another dragon, and somehow now it's like he's a hobbit up in here. Your dwarves always having to deal with dragons. The Hobbit is just one particular dragon. So, but now there's 2. Because the dwarf has failed to kill either one. We just lost this return because there's a siren in this region that just sung her song, and it basically amounts to the assassin getting an extra turn to make up for having us in turn being lost in the cracks, because everybody but the assassin is in the middle region. You can't regenerate this turn because we rolled a 6. I think instead, regenerating seems like a good idea right now. So instead, then we're just gonna stay put and gain 1 life, which gets us ahead in life, even in comparison to all of the other characters. The dwarf just got a quest to the Warlock Cave. Welcome to get a quest to get from the Warlock to get a talisman. An ogre over in the hills, because it's a better, because hell's the better place to go are the two options. Like, it's only got a strength of 5, so you're actually stronger than it to begin with. You never got a strength of 8. Although with that roll of 1, actually, he beat us. It actually did. And we didn't roll a 6 on our opponent roll, so we just lost the 1 life we regenerated. Good thing we regenerated. Otherwise we'd get 3. Wizard is back for revenge, and this time it's in naked combat. However, we might win if we roll a 6, and we didn't. And he decided to just focus. Unfortunately, the helmets don't protect you from your brain being assaulted directly. Through, like, magic. Let's just go take our frustration. There's always another over. Trophy. Which ones do you have? Once you have 6 main strength for rhythm trophies. These will be able to redeem them to gain decided to assault her person, with his brain. And be a psychic combat too. And take across because this game has sort of like Christianity thing going on, and then they've got like crosses and this is not impressive, as it just simply means that if you're non-neutral, you don't use life from being in a place that's against your language. Because normally, evil people lose life in the chapel, and good people lose life in the graveyard. But having the crossroads protects you from whichever would affect you. So now it's our turn again. We rolled a 1 to move. That's not really not really good. I'd roll in any direction because let's just go with the effectively useless option because we don't have any money. Like it's better than losing one life because we don't have any food or displacing broken land and then we don't get hoping not to die, maybe just spontaneously, for like an event or something. Payback against a wizard for assaulting her brain, so let's beat him up again. And we're take like his armor or something. And just upgrade the helmet because it has effectively a 50-50 chance of protecting that was supposed to be 1 in 6. Ditch or hunter because you can, unless you've got like a mule or something like that, once it means your carrying capacity, you can only carry 4 objects at a time. Immobilize it. For the wizard's turn. Just to be able to draw a new spell. This time we drew a Hex, which allows us to on a space. He's in the outer middle region, and where it will remain for 3 rounds. and any character that lands on that space loses 1 life. But you have to cast it before at the start of your turn before you move, so there's actually a chance you might just accidentally walk on it yourself. Well, if you know the spot, the space that you were trying to walk on, and it isn't substantially better. Let's just why not put it on the space with the these are the portal. Then draw a third spell, which is Destroy Magic, which you can cast at the start or end of your turn. No character, including yourself, may cast a spell or use any magic object until the start of your next turn. Just go and take on this dragon. Which, unlike the poor dwarf, we might actually stand with like a fair chance. We still lost, but that's only because we had poor luck and the dragon had good luck. When it comes to that roll. Didn't lose any life because the owner stole off the wizard. Losing any 1 life pretty much whichever space you go to. You might as well go to the one that draws a card. And apparently there's a marsh in the desert somehow. Which means that whenever you land, anyone who lands here with a strength less than 5 will lose 1 turn. Which is basically every bit, basically means that the wizard and the dwarf will lose a turn if they land on that space. He is currently. It looks like the assassin then is likely going to be joining us in the middle region because he just got to ferry to right across the temple. Wizard has just decided to cast it random, which is, a random effect. Which chances are, which has because the way the rules work, it has basically a 50-50 chance of doing nothing at all to us, because we have no gold to lose, we have no craft to lose, and we have no strength to lose. So if it does anything, it'll be either turning us into a toad, giving us one life, or giving us one strength. And gave us one strength. So now we've got 8 strength. Let's see exactly. Only 2 new dice, so let's try it the next turn, because unfortunately this turn we can only just like get to the space. Wizards decide to join us in the spot, probably to assault our brain again. And, yep. There was that roll, there was literally no way we could win that, and he just decided to hurt us with his brain. And for some reason. The door didn't open, so we just lost the 1 strength again. Because you lose one of the stat you used, so that you can't just keep rolling infinitely until you get a really good one. Because the wizard is being kind of an asshole. Let's just destroy magic for a little bit. And see how he likes them apples. You know, being devoted to magic. She just found an item that you can't even take because he's evil. And yeah, that magic items are back to being usable again. We automatically gain a new spell in the form of preservation, which can be cast at any time, sort of like an instant magic gathering. And it prevents a character from losing life or a follower from being killed. And when cast on an enemy, it prevents it from being killed, and the attack is considered a standoff. So basically, you know, you can even choose to just like keep your opponents and enemies alive just to spite them, basically. Or so you can heal or kill. No, either way. Try again, defend this dragon. And lose again. But be saved by our armor again. Because, you know, our armor is very good because it actually has a fairly high chance ends up activating. And the assassin just did his cool thing, and that he can just completely stop up even he challenges to a battle from rolling an attack, from rolling a die for another attack, and so he can just auto win any fight any fight where like his opponent doesn't have substantially higher strength than anything he does. That was kind of weird, and it didn't give us a chance to actually cast a preservation spell. And that would have been really useful in not being one life. The temple just gave us more strength to like. When a wizard keeps coming and assaulting you with his brain, that's not really a big help. Looks like we're fighting the pretty yet again. Only this time it's basically just going to be a straight die roll because we've got 8 strength and a sword. And it's a standoff because we both rolled the same thing. But at least that doesn't give the brigand a chance to maybe kill us. And if what usually happens, then it's a wizard mage. So let's just queue up preservation so that maybe this time it will actually cast. Yep. And there we go. A new spell in the form of divination, which allows us to cast the Star of Return, and before we move, we get to take one secret look at the top 25 cards of the adventure deck. Regenerate this turn. So that if the wizard comes to us again, then we won't just potentially die. Like our armor doesn't protect us from our brain being bombarded. The wizard is kind of preying on our biggest weakness, and that's that we're dumb. But we also just, get to see the next 5 cards, the adventure deck. Allows us to teleport to any other space in our region as long as we're outside the inner region. It seems that both is targeting us with something. Wow. Targeted us with the same thing. They recast them with the wizard a while back. The assassin's gonna be struggling for a bit. One space per turn, earn each round. Oh, wait, it affects all regions, so it affects us as well. So we have money, and we're low on life. Let's pay the Royal Doctor to heal us a bit. The assassins actually getting close to those that have it. The same route. This is like round 4, I think, with this dragon. Some life to it as well. Couple all the things that divination told us was coming, so now we're back so now the adventure deck is back to being a complete mystery. Like we haven't really been drawing any cards anyway, so let's just go fight this doppelganger because fight the doppelganger, it has your level of strength. If you win, you gain 1 strength automatically. also just learned Psionic Blast, which is kind of useless when you don't start out very smart, because it adds your starting craft, so it doesn't include any craft you've gained over the course of the game. So for it to put strength until the end of the battle. Doppelganger actually has a slight advantage because it's on a rune space, and you also can't cast spells on the rune space, I don't think. That's why you can't cast Psionic Blast. So you just got beat by a doppelganger. The armor saved us. Probably going to straight up assassinate a bear with a sword. And then quite possibly, probably lose to a raid. I think actually the best that die roll does he go hope for was a standoff. Got one on the die against an enemy that actually uses that has the same name stats as you. The wolf actually beat the doppelganger we were trying to kill. Wizard back to assault her brain again. Fun! And it's not a standoff because, which was the best we could hope for, that die roll. Wizard. Actually not the rune space to drop you from to keep you from casting spells, it's a cursed blade. Like well, we just ran into the cursed blade and found I'm the princess anyways. Don't really have to worry about all the combat mechanics thing with this blade. And the assassin is taken down and restored it. Now has the same strength. Much like the devil, the angel, like, wow, you're fucking boring. And it goes back to where she came from. Just take some time to regenerate because we're almost dead. The assassin, being evil, can not only doesn't lose any life from venturing into the graveyard, which if he had lost life from that, he would have just died on the spot. Well, the wizard just stole our ability to cast spells effectively. Because he stole what was giving us a one craft we needed to be able to actually have a spell. There's carrying a second talisman as well. Keep regenerating as long as we gain more sixes as the movement. So this hasn't have to be very worried about where he moves. Because if he loses a single fight, he's gonna die. He has no armor or of any kind. Unfortunately, he's managing to fight just a multitude of battles rather than second combats. And now he's managed to get back from basically the brink of death. The dwarf has been carrying around a poltergeist this entire time. But you would actually, in order to get rid of it to the sort of built-in way, he'd actually have to go back to the outer region and come back. He doesn't really have a good means of getting back into the middle region, which is probably why he hasn't done it. So it's just continually going one space at a time. And getting into standoffs with wild boars. Wizard has a lot of life. Oh wow, the dwarf was able to get rid of the poltergeist by getting a hag. Because when you take the hag, you lose all of your other followers, including other cursed followers. Cursed meaning that you have to take the follower when you find it. Because, you know, it's specifically there to make things harder rather than you know, giving you some kind of benefit. But the dwarf now can no longer have any other followers besides a hag until he can visit the village mystic, which the village is way over in the inner region. So probably not gonna be doing that anytime soon. So yeah, no. We get to draw 2 cards because there's already 1 card on the space, but you draw 3 cards on the space or until there are 3 cards. Cards effectively. We managed to get the Holy Grail, which It grants one craft and makes it so you don't lose life in the desert because it is still a cup. Even if it is, you know, a magical holy one, it still functions as a cup. And everybody in this region has to miss one turn because of a storm, which I believe that's everyone. Well, looks like we're not getting the Holy Grail because you encounter events first. The event had a higher encounter number than the Holy Grail did. And when you lose a turn, you automatically miss, your turn automatically ends. But basically, because everybody was caught in the storm, you basically just start our turn over. Now, round number 5 or 6 against this dragon. Still managed to beat us, and their armor didn't save us, so back down to 2 life. Unfortunately, we were able to regenerate a couple times first, so you know, we're not on the brink of death. The assassin has finally managed to get some healing. The wizard got an alchemist and turned his spare talisman into gold. Let's just sit here and regenerate, eat a bit. Has some armor now as well, thanks to the helmet we just sort of discarded after we stole all the armor of the wizard. Well, technically, not so much stole, but won. By a horse. The wizard was also quite wealthy, so he was able to pay a mercenary to follow him around. Let's head back. So let's head back to the hidden valley and hopefully get it. Hopefully get that Holy Grail. As long as we can, you know, defeat this fierce wild boar, then we can just auto kill because we're way too strong for it to not die after our attack. We're gonna have to ditch something to make room for the Holy Grail. Or we can just not take it. regained the ability to cast spells, and he also just got a better sword. Because one of the handy things about being neutral is you can have both the rune sword and the Holy Grail at the same time, even though one is kind of evil and one is definitely good. Because items that care about alignment just care about not being the opposing alignment. So neutral characters can pretty much wield whatever they want. Let's go ahead and cue up that nullify. And it automatically zeroes in on the wizard because he's the only one with spells. Which that was who I was going to target anyway. So now we've got destruction, which allows us to remove any face of adventure card from the board. I don't know, it looks like the dwarf has had enough of this hag, so he's taking her to the mystic, who also gave him a spell. Way back to the middle region. This random spell might actually be pretty strong against the assassin, but it just made him harder. Oh boy. I guess we're just gonna be sitting there for a bit because the wizard just kind of takes over for a little while. Assault and just sort of vibe checks people with his brain. Belts telepathically. Why does the wizard even need a belt that improves his strength? Now he's really telepathically stealing because he just stole my sword with magic. But now he has to ditch his own regular sword. I mean, now he's got a better one. I guess he just wants to be a bit more well-rounded, rather than relying on his brain, relying purely on brain power all the time. Good spot for gold to give us more strength. So I've got 8 strength but no sword. I guess he ditched the regular sword we had and it was a super fancy sword. As much as he's been like getting a bit that's swole in comparison to how he was. you can still probably just beat his ass and him to the ground. Just from brute strength. Well, I mean, we're not quite as overwhelming into him anymore. Let's give it a shot, I guess. He's effectively got 6 strength in combat now. But like, he's still lost. Still being taken by sword back. Hidden Valley, home of range dressing, and was actually not a ghost. Because ghost is one of the goes to random 1 of 6 spots. That's when you kind of being kind of directly on the space of where it was drawn. Has left the inner region, they might be able to find his way back easily. Because, like, I mean, he's stronger than he was. Like, not necessarily strong enough to beat the Sentinel all reliably. Just to free up both the spell and Angel spot on this space. It's gonna destroy my own soul and learn to gain a counter spell in return, which can negate the effects of any spell, including the command spell. So you can actually use these prolonged sort of the late game a little bit. I've got 1 more strength, so the old non-evil characters just lost a turn. objects are really worth ditching something like a wand or a rune sword for. Almost 10. So let's scroll for Gazette Dragon one more time. So hopefully this will be the last time we have to do this. And it still just barely beat us. Tried to pray and got ignored. The dwarf actually became good at some point, which is why he was able to pray. Not even quite clear when the dwarf got changed to go from the town mystic. Well, considering his proper term. Well, let's try and bust open this door again. And we actually did this time. So we get to keep all our strength. Head into the inner region, which 9, 10 in combat might be enough. The assassin has made his way back to the middle region. And gained a spell from the temple. The witch took a liking to the wolf and let him gain it. Because the Holy Grail's power is temporarily nullified. So I've lost my useless spell. Because the influence of the Holy Grail is making this troll smart enough to actually use a thing. So basically, when you get into the inner region, you sort of have two different routes that you can go down. There's the sort of strength route and the craft route. Since we only have a 2 craft until the beginning of the wizard's next turn, and that's all the more reason to go down the strength route. Which just got a talisman from this hermit. Like we already have a talisman, so and then you land on this space. You roll 3 dice, subtract your strength from the total, and move directly to one of these spots, depending on what you rolled, which got a 10, so it just go back. Wait, now? I guess I was an 11. I miscounted it somewhere. That was actually a 12, so yeah, I definitely miscounted. So now we're back to the plane of peril, and on the plane of peril is the portal of power. Found just a random wolf. Oh, and I guess it's actually 7 craft to trade in for. It's actually 7 in trophy value to trade in a trophy. And I've got 10 base strength because we were able to trade in the wolf and the ogre. Looks like the assassin actually killed the dragon finally, because assassinate. Which, I mean, I feel like that dragon was, you know, reaching a level of notoriety to for someone to potentially, you know, hire a contract killer to kill it. The wizard just really doesn't like us. Probably because he stole, like, armor, I think? So the first thing we stole. And now we're down to 6 strength. Thanks. Now I have to do all that grinding over again. And then because of random changes. Like literal random chains. Okay, yet another psionic blast. The spell every troll needs. Jay, we found a fountain of wisdom. So now we're actually smarter. The assassin's making his way through the inner region. Like, I mean, his strength is only 1 higher than ours was. That was when we tried. So he's gonna need some good luck to get any further than we did. The wizard has returned to the mill region. Back to having 7 strength, thanks to... Well, maybe the assassin will make it through. He actually got decent luck, and we'll get past the crypt. They managed to actually roll under 10. Back to portal. Can't go through it this turn. So, for now we're encountering Mephistopheles. He's on a mission in this land. We're not evil, so no, we don't get any craft, so we just become evil. Here's an explanation of alignment. We're now a black-hearted villain, and in the game's terms. And that also means that we lose our Holy Grail. So now we're back to being 3 on craft. Well, looks like the assassin's gonna have to stay there until, well, at least his next turn. His roll was equal to the Reaper's roll. It's effectively sort of a standoff for that space. Normally, having no gold would be that fizzing up is useless, but we've got the princess with us, so it's really far back. So the assassin's luck may have run out. You know, the one good person this entire game, and currently, is taking the Holy Grail, which I mean, it's the only one that can hold the thing. So we still got a bit of things to do before we actually get back or we can get back to where we were basically. So head over to the Kirk Blade and encounter some raiders that steal our 0 gold. And stash it at the Oasis. Oh. Looks like the assassin will probably get through on this one. Yep. So it's probably gonna come down to who can make their way into the Crown of Command and just like bludgeon the assassin to death. I think the wizard's got a good shot out of that. I mean, he's been brain vibe checking all day. Granted, he's mostly been doing that to me with my 3 crafts, but still. Also got a lot of light, which will help them live through multiple castings of things as a command spell because everybody could lose one life. Basically resulting in a ticking clock. Oh, and speaking of brain vibe checks, here comes another. And this enemy doesn't steal my sword, rather than hurting me. Now that we've got the inventory space, now we'll take this jug of water. It's gonna be on the Crown of Command on the next turn, so... Oh boy, this has got even more crafty. Space gives us absolutely nothing right now. Oh, it's actually not the usual ending, because I picked random endings. I didn't even realize the base game had an alternate ending. There's one, because as it got to the crown going faster than everybody else did. So there was no chance of somebody coming in and just bludgeoning them to death, potentially with their brain, in the case of the wizard. Well, that lasted about the amount of time that I planned to stream for today, so I guess we'll see you all next time.